something to say.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name's Charlie. Welcome to Season 2. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, especially if you're reading my new book, Crucify My Love, which is available as a Kindle ebook, a paperback, and a podcast. Just search for Mask of the Gods wherever you're listening to me, and you'll get to hear it. I'm not alone today.
Not alone. Yes.
That's Brian. He refuses to introduce himself. That's my hubby bubby.
It's because I'm obstinate.
Yes, very. So, okay. Today we're going to be talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I'm sure you saw before you clicked play on this, because that's kind of the title of the episode. But just so you know, if you're new to the podcast, we're going to do some non-spoilery talk, and then do spoilery talk. You will be clearly warned before spoilers happen. And oh, will there be spoiler talk for this one?
Spoiler talk like monsters fighting monsters.
That's not spoiler, that's the trailers, dear.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get started, if you haven't already, please go and rate this podcast in whatever app you're listening to me on. It really does help out a lot. It tells the algorithms to share the podcast with more people. And the more people that listen, the bigger community that we have. And the bigger the community, the more we can connect with each other and do stuff. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who has done that, and hopefully you will if you haven't. So this is the first episode in the titular Season 2. And if you remember, I said today was going to be Movie, Music, or Mood Mondays. And it's movie today.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be able to hear our dog eating because she has decided to crunch loudly.
It's dinner time. I think she's mad that we're off schedule.
She's
the keeper of times.
So, hopefully that won't be too loud, but we shall see.
Or she's just mad that we left the house.
Yeah, probably. So, we went to see Godzilla King of the Monsters today, and yeah, it was a movie.
It was okay.
It was fine.
I was hoping to leave the theater all amped up. And,
I was too.
Back to my 5-year-old self and wanting to smash toys together and, jump off the furniture and whatnot.
So, first of all, I have to say, if you did not like Godzilla 2014 because you felt that there was too much about the people and too much talky talk and not enough monsters, you probably won't like this movie either. There's a lot more monsters.
Yes.
By volume. But honestly, I think if we do screen time comparisons between this movie and Godzilla 2014, I bet you they would come out almost equal. Because the few monsters things that happen early in the movie is kind of in the same vein, though not exactly as the Monarch footage of Godzilla that we got early in that movie. And that to me is the weakest thing about this film, and we'll talk about that a lot more once we go into spoilers. It really needed the monsters to be in it. When they're in it, this is a great movie. And
I think this is the thing that we realized getting out of the theater, that when the reviews we were watching and checking out, the people who are super excited and stoked, they were able to tune out the people in the movie and just focus on the monster part. And if you're able to tune out the people and focus on the monster part, it is spectacular. There's a lot of monster clashing and just smashing and just awesomeness, but there's a lot of disruptive people parts.
And, as you all know, especially if you listened to my previous episode a couple weeks ago on Kaiju, I actually liked the Gareth Edwards movie. I liked it a lot. I also liked his 2 monster movies that he did previous to this. But to me, he understood the formula for a good kaiju movie. And that is, if we're going to follow the humans, we have to care about them in some way. And I like that in the original, they kept the human cast fairly small, and you understood them. They had a reason for being there.
Yeah.
You understood why Shirazawa was there, and why we were following the Marines, and why we kept going back to Scarlet Witch at the Med Center. You know what I'm saying? You just... Well, let's be honest. If I use the actual names of the characters, nobody's going to know who I'm talking about, because nobody knows the characters from a Godzilla movie if it's not the name of one of the monsters.
Actually, what made it worse is I sat back going, you know what, I want Scarlet Witch in my next Godzilla film. Because that would just be kind of awesome, because then you have, monsters smashing monsters, and every now and then Scarlet Witch just smashes back a little bit,
That's what Millie Bobby Brown can play in the next one.
There you go.
She's great in this, by the way. I have... She was one of my concerns, because I was afraid that they put her in just because, hey, isn't everybody in love with Stranger Things? There's a big monster in Stranger Things. Why not have one of the Stranger Things kids? And of all the gripes that I have about the human stuff in here, she's great. Kyle Chandler is great, which I had a lot of concerns about them including him, because I have rarely, if ever, liked him in anything. So... And I did in this. I thought his storyline worked well. It's pretty much every other human other than Dr. Shirazawa. Shirazawa, great character. We'll talk about him more in spoilers, because I don't want to spoil things. But
in the non-spoiler thing, in the non-spoiler side, like, at first for me, I felt like they either didn't go far enough with the humans, or didn't, take enough of them out. Like, they fell into the uncanny valley with them, and...
Which is odd, considering we have a giant bird, a giant moth, a three-headed dragon, and a Godzilla.
All fighting each other, and we're cheering it on. Not a problem with any of that. All that looked great, too. Yeah. The effects all looked great on all that.
I thought they looked a little bit more plastic than they did in the previous movie.
I kind of felt they were supposed to, though. It almost would be wrong if it looked too realistic.
I would just say, there's been a lot saying about how good the special effects were. This isn't like... For anybody who thought that Thanos looked plasticky and rubbery in Infinity War, these are computers in rubber costumes in this one. But again, it's a Godzilla movie, so I don't... Yeah, I'm fine with that. But
But you rightly pointed out that there was two plot lines. Well, when we go into the spoiler section, we'll get in more detail in them. But there's two plot lines tying in with the humans that they needed to pretty much just remove,
and it would have been a great movie,
or make a small fix to, and it would have made it a great movie
because they steal the oxygen from the film.
Yeah, it was almost
every time.
It was almost like you're watching this great monster film, and then the humans kind of push them off to the side and go, "No, we're here. Pay attention to me. I'm a human. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me." And they're like trying to upstage the monsters, and it's like, no, I got kaiju. I want to see them. And I'm not here to see the humans.
Remember when I said I was afraid that there was going to be a happening in this movie? There was kind of a happening in this movie.
I didn't.
No, the breakup between the two scientists, we'll talk about that when we get into spoilers more, but that felt so, weirdly the happening,
yeah, that was a problem with the storyline.
Their relationship also makes no sense. But
that's because there's an issue.
Thomas Middleditch is in the movie for absolutely no reason. His character serves they just gave him money. You could have had a nameless NPC say any of his lines, and it would have worked. Yeah. Why they paid an actor that they probably had to pay a decent amount because of Silicon Valley and whatnot, right?
Yeah. And when you're I don't understand money, get somebody else.
The same with CJ Pounder. I got so excited when I saw her. She plays a senator in this movie. Not a lot of anybody mentioning her. Saw her, got so excited because I'm like, oh, she's going to make it rain.
Yeah.
Because she's a boss in everything that she's in, except for this one where she has one scene that is completely throwaway and doesn't matter at all.
I was just laughing going, they could have saved some money and just put Sylvester Stallone in his role. And it still would have worked.
Yes.
And that would have drawn people to the movie going, what the heck, Sylvester Stallone is in this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But if you go back to my episode on Kaiju...
Oh, especially getting to hear him try to say, Godzilla,
Ghidorah. Ghidorah would be fun.
Ghidorah would be fun, too.
Man, we got to go fight Ghidorah.
Could get her out easily. Wow, yeah.
But, you know, as I said in my previous thing on kaiju and why I love kaiju are forces of nature. And the biggest problem that this movie has is it wanted to give the humans some sense of agency in the plot. And unfortunately, whatever their plans were, it didn't work. And the biggest problem that I have with this film is it felt like most of the really awesome stuff happened off screen. Like, if you want a non-spoiler way of thinking about whether or not you want to go to the theater to see this movie and not just rent it, imagine going to see Independence Day. But you only get to see a couple of the fights with the aliens, but none of the major ones where they take out the U.S. cities. And
you might get to see, like, DC get destroyed, but they leave out New York and L.A. and everything else.
We'll talk about that.
You know.
And Jeff Goldblum and his wife had a really stupid argument that might end the world. Because coffee. If that sounds interesting to you. Now, don't think that this is like full Independence Day. They don't engineer a virus that kills off the kaiju at the end or anything like that. That's not what happens. But I think this movie can very easily be analogized to the first Independence Day movie, because a lot of the plot points and a lot of the beats are very similar to Independence Day. And where they went wrong with this movie are things that would have ruined that movie as well. But yeah, so I think that's all I can say before I really start going into spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So spoilers are now incoming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have been warned. Okay? Okay.
First thing, okay, you keep making this happening reference.
Yes.
And I want to address this so I don't accidentally let out a spree of expletives and ruin our safe label. Because I have great angst and you know.
Okay, so what happened is their kid. We get the movie starts with us retroactively going back to the first Godzilla movie, the 2014 Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Kyle Chandler and his horrid evil wife's kid, eldest son, dies in that attack.
Yeah.
And they part company because she wants to release all the monsters, he wants to kill all the monsters, and then they forget that she's an evil megalomaniac monster until it's too late.
No, not exactly. Okay, so...
No, he says very clearly that they broke up.
They broke up because of how they were processing the grief. He went to drinking, he tried to quote-unquote run away, and became a drunk, and was a bad person, and obviously got over his alcoholism, and then went off to photograph wildlife. And you know, in her eyes... Because that thing says I'm
going to get over the death of my son, like watching wolves eat innocent animals. Well, eat Bambi out in the woods.
This is why I had no problems with this character, because, you know, he's the first time he sees Godzilla, this is like, he's like, I kind of still want to destroy you. You know, and obviously he didn't get over it, you know, at the beginning, because, you know...
No, he doesn't get over it.
Watching wolves eat deer in the wilderness doesn't help get over grief of the loss of a son. You know,
But he clearly says that she wanted to do what she ends up doing from the start.
Yeah.
And that's part of why they broke up.
Yeah. There was a bit of an argument of it, but the thing is the biggest problem with her is they really screwed her up, because she wants to, you know, she realizes, okay, we could, these titans are going to help reset the planet, and they bring life after the devastation, and so therefore we need to set them all loose and reset the planet. And then she goes, in the name of my son. And it's like, if they would have just left that out, there wouldn't have been all this awkwardness, because
the whole storyline doesn't work, because they've set up two narratives that are counterpointal to each other, and they make the entire thing not work. Apparently, humans are powerful enough to control Rodan until they're not. Humans are powerful enough to control Mothra until they're not. humans are powerful enough to control the other kaiju that we see in this movie, because we do see other kaiju in this movie, until they're not. Because they have them in containment.
It's true, they do say in containment.
This is the problem with them trying to give human agency to the characters in this flick. The movie,
you're right, I pleasantly ignored that part, so I wouldn't be so angry about the movie.
Yes, this is what...
Darn you for making me remember!
This is what irritated me.
The containment things early on...
Because Rodan is literally living in a volcano that they've put...
now, on that one, they do say they hacked in and dropped the containment, because that was the alert they got.
They put a sippy cup lid on a volcano to keep Rodan from getting out, and all they had to do was turn off the locks on the sippy cup lid, and Rodan got out.
The containment was probably like that electric field they put up around Mothra,
and you can't bring a bunch of projectors with you and do that. Like,
again, later
Ghostbusters trapped this thing?
Yeah, because that's like I said, they fell into the uncanny valley with the human agency because they have all this ingenuity and then they don't have enough ingenuity at the exact same darn time.
Yes.
And it's like, look, you're supposed to be in the second row, sit down in the second row and sing your little chorus parts and stop standing up and try to do a solo in the middle of this chorus piece.
Because I don't have a problem
for the kaijus.
I don't have a problem with humans trying to shoot at the kaiju, because they're not going to be able to hurt them. It's going to be futile, and
that's part of
it's part of it. It's that futility of trying to scream at the wind. Okay, I'm fine with that. But they put in this weird thing that they're able to control them, to contain them. And so they had to put in this other weird thing with the Orca device so that she can play a certain sound that makes them go crazy and sets them free. Because human agency. This entire movie takes place because humans did stupid things repeatedly.
The device I didn't have as much issue with, because once again, the devices, she somehow figures out to make the resonance to make it sound like one of the king of the kaijus. And, as Godzilla's as Ghidorah. And, so that's why Godzilla and Ghidorah, of course, hearing it go nuts, because they're like, no, I'm king. And they're going to fight and throw down. And so when they do hear it, it's distracting to them. And the other ones, of course, being not alphas,
See, that's the other problem that I have, is putting this whole alpha idea in here.
Into the kaijus.
Godzilla is king of all monsters because Godzilla can kick all the monsters' butts, except for sometimes he needs Mothra's help.
Yeah, which was what pissed me off at the very end. Sorry, I'm going to take this for a second. Rodan showed...
I'm going to try to believe that.
Oh, that is... Yeah. Sorry, I knew it was going to happen. Darn it. Well, you have me on, you go on the risk of expletives. I forget certain...
Yeah.
Okay, Rodan. End of the film, Godzilla's like on his triumphant little mountain of rubble above everybody else, and everyone else is paying homage to him. Rodan shows up. I kind of wish when Rodan showed up, Godzilla just turned to him and burned him to a crisp. So at least the other ones knew, I'm paying homage to him because he just incinerated one of us. He is king. Because he was a traitor up to that point. Yeah, don't go and try to pull a...
Okay, let me back you up off of this. Rodan had no purpose being in this movie and should not have been in this movie at all. Rodan does nothing.
Yeah.
Rodan breaks out of a... Basically, you have seen all of Rodan's scenes if you've seen the trailers. He breaks out of a volcano, he flies over a city and causes some wind damage, and then he has a brief fight with Mothra. That maybe a few clips of that were not in the trailers.
Yeah.
But Rodan serves no purpose at all in this movie. Mothra kind of serves no purpose in this movie other than being gorgeous and loving and wonderful and the queen of all monsters, which they do call her that in this movie, and I'm very excited. And at least, hopefully, they remember she is an immortal goddess, and now that she is dead, her egg will reform.
Yeah.
And she will come back.
Yeah.
Hopefully they remember that, because they keep going off on this god thing. Speaking of god thing,
she also passed with fairy dust onto
Godzilla, which again, no problem with. That gives him his super ultra power up that helps him fight Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Fine with that. But they were wasted in this movie. They really don't... Like, they're literally the B team. Rodan never fights Godzilla, to my memory.
No. That's why I wish Godzilla would have gone over and grabbed him by his wings, blasted him through his face, and then ripped the wings off, and just been like, yeah, I'm king of the beasts because I just did that to one of y'all. Anybody else? And then ended it. I don't know.
I mean, the monster fights were cool.
The monster fights were cool.
But this is the problem that I have, is because you mentioned DC when I was doing my Independence Day thing. All of the exciting stuff happens off-scene in this. Like, it's like, most of this movie felt like the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, except for we didn't have a dancing Groot and it wasn't as funny.
Yeah.
Because the monsters are fighting in the background while the humans are being stupid.
Yeah.
And we find out that, like, apparently Ghidorah destroys Washington, D.C.
And humans try to put up a fight. And we missed the whole thing.
We missed the whole thing.
We didn't get to see it.
We missed the whole thing. There's one shot of naval vessels driving through the ruined wastelands of Washington, D.C., which are now underwater up to the top of the Capitol Dome. Yeah. And if you've ever been to Washington, that's pretty high up.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. And we don't see what happened. Really? Like, you want me to fear King Ghidorah? Show me him destroy DC.
Yeah, and lay waste
everything.
Most of the military.
Because that's why I went to Independence Day. Yeah. When you see the White House get blown up in Independence Day.
Yeah, and you see what's that tower in LA and New York, and you get to actually see these cities get just wasted. And here it was like you get to see just a little bit.
Boston gets trashed.
Yeah, you can see Boston get trashed.
I don't know. You're right. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't. I mean, that's the thing. If you could turn your brain off and just watch the monster fights, but it's hard to do that because
if you can do that, I would say watch Pacific Rim Resurgence before this one.
Yeah, because you're going to.
I would put this below Pacific Rim Resurgence.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would agree with that because once again, you have her whole plot line. Okay, you needed a reason for kind of like for waking him up and stuff, and I could still.
They should have woken up on their own.
Yeah, she could have. Yeah, they could have woken up on their own.
They did not need to make them waking up a human-caused event. That is what drug down the entire story. Cut Tywin's character out. We don't need any Tywin Lannister in this thing. And I'm sorry, he's playing Tywin Lannister. He is not playing a new character. I refuse to learn his new character's name. He's Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister. Yeah, you're right.
Like, they brought him in. They said, "Do what you did when you played Tywin." Yeah. Do that.
Yeah.
Apparently
he's got deep pockets like Tywin, or thought Tywin had.
Yeah, he's definitely Tywin Lannister.
Yeah.
And
because they could have actually had something. They could have had some humans doing something human bad to other humans to wake them up. I mean, simply like that.
Or just not have that be a plot point at all.
Well, I mean, wake up the first one, wake up the others, something.
It's unnecessary. They already mentioned in the first movie that they were waking
There's
up.
the whole scene. What about them? What about killing them before they wake? I guess you could have just left that first bit when they were being interrogated by the defense council. I don't know.
Yeah, that needed to be cut out too.
Yeah.
Basically the entire military subplot needed to go because it served no purpose.
Yeah.
Because, let's develop a super weapon that does absolutely nothing. Woo!
Yeah.
Other than cause Dr. Shirazawa to have to commit suicide to save the day. It's the only thing that they accomplished there. Meaningless plot line, get rid of it. The whole eco-terrorism thing, get rid of it. And the mom, get rid of it. Like, just have Millie Bobby Brown be back at home with the nanny or with the grandparents in Boston. Kyle Chandler is still going to have his desire to get back to her. You can have all of the stuff that worked between their characters still work between their characters, completely killing the mom off. She died in San Francisco. I mean, keep the same origin story. I don't care. She died in San Francisco. Blah, blah, blah. her and the mom's entire storyline and the military
I still kind of
storyline
like
needs to go.
the orca thing, the sound bit, because I thought that was very clever, trying to
Then
use
simplify
sounds
her
and stuff.
story down
But
just to
heck
that.
yeah, because that's the thing. They need to be simplified down to just that. You could still have her waking up the first one, but her reasons needed to just be simple. You know, I dealt with the grief of my son because his whole planet's dying.
No,
I don't
not
know,
even
Mother of
have
the
her have a
Planet.
reason. Have it
Okay.
be a way that they're trying to use to control them. That
Yeah.
we learn that the
She was
sound of the
working for
Mutos.
Monarch, and
Yeah,
okay.
we learned that the Mutos were called by certain sounds. We learned that Godzilla found the Mutos because of the sounds. I'm making
Yeah.
the sound box to do this stuff so that we can try to steer them away from populated areas.
Yeah, as a way to to
You
help
can just
things out.
hand wave that technology away and still have it be in the movie
Yeah.
without having to make a big deal about it if you want to leave it in there.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
meh. Oh, and apparently we're going to get Mecha Ghidorah at some point.
Yep.
There is a, if you didn't stay all the way to the end, because the first mid-credits thing is kind of, hey, we're doing King Kong versus Godzilla next, which hopefully will be good. And at the very end, Tywin buys one of King Ghidorah's heads.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that they're going to do Mecha Ghidorah at some point, which happened before. Watch the original Japanese. It will probably be better. This, like, I liked the first Godzilla movie. I loved Skull Island.
Yeah. This one was just like, wow. Yeah, this one...
The kaiju fights are amazing.
Yeah.
But
it's the other parts that just, like I said, it's very distracting when you're, even if you wanted to buy into the ecoterrorism line, you have in the middle of her little screed as to why she's doing it, and then she says she's doing it for her son, and it's like, why did you have to bring that up? Because it totally just, like, that's where, because I was doing pretty good tuning out the humans and just enjoying the monsters and the monster fights, and that part just made me stop and go, WTF. I mean, really, like, that doesn't even make any sense at all. And I've been trying to just enjoy a lot of nonsense in the first place, but this was just
too much.
Too much. And
every time Evil Dr. Mom
yeah,
opened her mouth, the air just gets sucked out of this movie.
Yeah.
It's like every time you cut to her and Tywin, just check out. Like, play Words with Friends on your phone or whatever you do. Just, like, check out. And when
I'd
you
like
hear...
to say you have enough time to run to the restroom and back, but...
Actually, you probably do.
Go back and clock it and see if
you
there's
probably
time.
do, because some of those scenes
were
are
a bit
really
long.
overly long.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just suck the life right out of this movie. If they weren't in it, good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie. I'll probably buy it when it comes out and do just that. Play a game or fast forward through all of her scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Anywho, I wanted to be more excited. You all know how excited I was for this movie.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and I get why some people are really excited. The kaiju fights were amazing. I really wanted to see good kaiju fights. They were good. They were amazing. Just the human parts needed to be completely reduced. This is Raymond Burr in the recut of Godzilla all over again.
Yeah, it's just because back to that other point, like DC, and then you have kaijus attacking cities and population places all over the world, and all different kinds of kaiju.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, like, I don't know. I kind of wanted to see what Mammoth Kaiju was going to do to the city other than
Wyoming.
Just smash some buildings down with its tusks. I don't know. That might have been nifty. And
they're really trying to make the Mutos a thing. Did you see there was a Muto at the end?
Yeah.
One of the kaiju that bows to Godzilla at the end is a Muto.
Yeah, and I'm like,
they're really trying to make that a thing.
Really?
Yeah, apparently there was a third one.
Why didn't he just destroy it if he was that enraged by them in the first place? But once again, I was very focused on Rodan not getting destroyed.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about the whole Atlantis thing, but I really don't want to go there. Like,
yeah, that was...
I
didn't have a problem with it. I just laughed.
I was just waiting for
it.
Jason Momoa to show up, and
that would have made it better.
Yeah,
it would have been awesome.
Everything's good with bottomless Momoas.
Oh my goodness! Now we're gonna have to explain that.
Yes. Before we go, Brian is going to explain to you the bottomless Momoa.
Maybe.
Come on.
Okay, I'll be nice.
We're running out of time.
Okay, so
We're already over.
yeah, so we have a Saturday brunch at the restaurant, and there's bottomless mimosas, and the person who's supposed to print up the poster that advertises this,
One of the vendors,
and they put on their bottomless momoas, and it got hung up, and bartender started giggling and pointed it out, and I said, yeah, if that were a real thing, I think everybody would be excited and want to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Well, I'd throw in free drinks, especially if he's going to be running around bottomless, I
know, he likes his beer.
He would definitely be able to run up a really good tab there, too, but
oh, yeah.
I'd still be like, okay, fine, worth it.
So, sorry for going over on this episode. We are going to try to stick to time in season 2, but it's Godzilla. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot more we could talk about, but I am going to cut it here unless you have anything else really important to say about this episode, about this movie.
No, I think that's it.
Rent it.
Yeah.
Not really a theater movie, I don't think. It was... Oh, and don't pay to see it in 3D. The 3D did nothing.
The 3D did nothing.
The 3D did nothing. I should have said that in the non-spoiler part, but
yeah,
the 3D did nothing. Anywho, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, please rate this podcast wherever you're listening to us. That would be awesome. Don't forget, down in the show notes, over in the show notes, or wherever the show notes are in the app that you're listening to me on, there's a link to send in a voice message. It can be a question, a comment, or a topic you'd like to hear discussed on the show. That works on any device and any browser now. Or if you want to get the Anchor app, you can still do that. I'd love to get your questions. Really like it when those come in, especially since we're going to be doing the Wednesday world building. If you have a topic that you would like for any of the week, please do let me know. While you're there, if you've got $1 you can throw my way, you can sign up either using the community support link or the Patreon link. As little as $1 a month, you can join the project and help with so many things that I'm doing, because this hurts to say, as of the end of June, all of my work will be coming out of Kindle Unlimited, so I will be relying on the kind graciousness of y'all who buy the books and who, give money here, there, and yonder to support everything that we're doing. So thank you to everybody who does that. If you don't have any money, that's fine. Completely understand that. But if you know anybody you think would like this podcast, please do share it with them. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm CE Dorset on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find links to everything that I do over at projectshadow.com. I think that's it. Yeah. Until next time, I'm Charlie.
I'm Brian.
And don't forget to have the fun.